Look at that ice, folks. Wow. Wow. He's even opening up the sensor right here and exposing it just to freaking cool the sensor. Oh my. So I've seen the camera. Things are starting to heat up. Let's take a look. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Stat1 Camera Guy. I'm back at again with another video for you. Thanks again for joining me on this photo / rumor / talking head kind of style thing going on. And again, something I want to stress, you know, we're just watching, we're just following along for good fun for the most part. Want to see what's going on. A lot of you are excited about the cameras, the Canon, the Sony stuff, and you just want to know what's going on. You know, that's kind of what's happening here. So before I get started, I want to, well, I'm going to talk about what I know now about the camera, and then what we saw already on Sony Alpha rumors, some stuff about the Canon EOS R6 and R5 and dealing with overheating issues. There's some interesting development there. We're going to go over that in this particular video, so let's go ahead and dive into it. But before I jump into that, I want to give a big shout out to Pascal Sievers. I'm sorry, I'm probably saying that wrong, dude. But he sent me the plug for the actual clip of the actual camera. So I've seen a video clip of the actual A7S III at this point. Not a very detailed video, but enough to, you know, to give you a feel for what the camera is going to look like and everything else. But I'll be honest with you, what I saw in the video is not as so much what you don't already know from Sony Alpha rumors, but what it does tell me is that the stuff that they're showing is not photoshopped. Okay, I'll tell you that now. So let's go ahead and dive into that particular rumor. All right, so now over on Alpha rumors here, as far as the extra leaked images. So taking what I saw from the video, I'm not gonna say everything. I don't think that's necessary. I'm pretty sure that information will come out from these other sources soon. But we now know for sure that it's doing 4K at either 110, 120, whatever the high frame rate option is, at 10-bit 422. Okay, so I'm cool with that. That was a big thing I wanted to see. I was talking about how there was 3 scenarios with the camera: scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3. It looks like we're seeing scenario 2 to 3 happen here, which is what I like instead. So that's really exciting. You saw the top button already, the record button on there. We're seeing full HDMI. If you hate micro HDMI, let me know down below. Smash that like button. I don't care, but I'm just saying, I know it was a necessity at some point just to have the migration, but this, I mean, it's always been okay, but it was always fiddly, and the connections were always loose. Yeah, granted, I know there was like a little connector they would sometimes include the Sony cameras, but I hated the micro HDMI. But full HDMI, there we go. It is gonna make things a little beefier, but it's secure. It's a lot more secure. So again, they could do a little close up there. And there's the camera. You might be wondering about, you know, why things are kind of blotted out. It's just, there's information there that they don't want to reveal to you for obvious reasons. Well, it wasn't obvious to me initially, so I don't want to give too much info on that. But so let's take a look here as far as what's happening. So on the top of the camera, why it's blotted out, there's an Atomos on there. There's an Atomos attached. Obviously, they have it plugged in with the HDMI, and they're attaching it to the camera. The Atomos, you'll see it later, I'm pretty sure. It's showing what they're running into the actual device. And then if you take a look here, I'm not going to say anything about that, but if you take a look at the actual LCD screen, I don't know if anyone was looking into that, but the information that's on there is kind of important. Well, in a way, it might imply something, but there's no f-stop information. So obviously you're seeing footage, but no f-stop information. Obviously the person's using a manual focus lens with no data to transmit or whatever. But they're going close up on something. There's like some macro thing going on there. And so obviously with that macro lens, they're shooting at a high f-stop. And so if you notice, the ISO is at 51,200, right? So they're testing high ISO in this particular situation here. I won't go any more in that, but just know that that's kind of effectively what's happening in that particular shot at that moment. So yeah, the camera, folks, it looks good. I mean, if you haven't had a chance to like handhold like the A7R IV, you know, those, yeah, they feel a lot better now in terms of the camera and handling. But what I wanted to kind of transition to, and like I said, you'll probably hear more obviously in the next couple of days, and then obviously the announcement already, but we're seeing 4K, 120 FPS, that's in the books. That was the one thing I really wanted to see from the camera, let alone, you know, the high resolution stuff was a bonus if they could pull that off. But, you know, 4K, 120 FPS, I'm all for that. So let's take a look at the specs right now. And then I'll let you know what my thinking is here. 12 megapixel sensor. There's nothing confirmed yet that I could tell from what I've seen. So, but it's looking like that, folks. Recording at full HD 240 FPS. That I do not know. And then the 4K 120 FPS 10-bit 422. Raw over HDMI. The 10-bit 422 we can see already. That's false now. The 4K 60. Downsampled 1080p from... I guess this is going to be a big deal here. No internal RAW. I'm going to bank on that. No internal RAW. 600 megabits per second bitrate. I think that's obvious now because of the 10-bit 422. You're going to need higher bitrate recording options. So that's a goal. That's a go. The S-Log 3, I don't know for sure because obviously they're not recording at that. And I couldn't tell any picture profile information. No dual ISO. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think that's happening. 16-bit RAW output. You know, that kind of, those things, I think there's some truth to it. I get the feeling that there could possibly be like the 16-bit raw output stuff for people that really, you know, would take advantage of that. So I'm not saying that's not impossible. 50, I don't know about that. Okay, so folks, let's go ahead and start looking at the Canon stuff, right? So we're starting to see the reviewers, they're getting their cameras, they're allowed to start releasing information about it. I saw this, someone posted this in the chat with Cinema 5D doing their review of the Canon EOS R6. I think the gentleman here, his name is Johnny, does some really great videos. I really like him. Just like he really puts the cameras into its paces. He had a chance to test the R6. Make sure you check it out. I'm gonna have a link down below. But the thing I want to point out here is the overheating situation. But he had nothing but great things to say about everything else, like the IBIS working well, the autofocusing working well. All that stuff was really great, and then he came into the part where it's about recording time limitations and overheating issues. So let's see here. Of course, I was aware of the overheating issue and the Canon's advisory on how to try and combat it next to the imposed recording time limit. Yet, data on paper is one thing, experience is on the file is another, and let me tell you, if you thought that the overheating issue is bad, think twice. It is certainly worse than you can imagine. This is the EOS R6, and he's saying it's pretty bad. And the video shows it too. It's like you can see in the actual image the overheating indicator, and then once the overheating indicator is kind of on, that recording option, 0. You can't do anything anymore. Recording time limitation is one thing, but overheating shutdown is unexpected points of filming during the day is truly an obstacle. Furthermore, the recovery time is long, or at least seems to be long when you are under pressure to resume filming as your talents are all waiting. As my frustration grew, I tried it all. This is what scared me. This is what scared me here. Ice bag on the camera, strong fan pointing directly to the sensor glass. Yes, at some point I did not care anymore about exposing the sensor to strong wind as long as I can resume filming. I also tried looking up at the sky, mumbled a few words. If it doesn't help, it won't hurt for sure, I thought. Oh, dude, that's terrible. I even made promises to be a nicer person and a good friend, all for the sake of seeing the camera working again. But no evil. The weather-sealed camera body did a great job by doing what it's supposed to do and not let anything enter it. Not even the fresh fan. I did not... I watched the video, but reading the article is so hilarious. Oh my god, you guys gotta check that out. Check the video. I'm gonna link it down below. Frustrated as hell, I had to apologize to Mari, Fuji-san, and Neil. Some of the best images I was supposed to capture that day were missed. Other actions that had to be repeated, and if it was not enough, at some point, I had the genius idea of lowering the resolution to full HD and continue shooting, just not to waste more their time. This method worked to some extent, but not all the time. Some of the kitchen images you see in the video were upscaled from full HD to 4K in order to match the rest of the footage. Look at that ice, folks. Wow. Wow. He's even opening up the sensor right here and exposing it just to freaking cool the sensor. Oh my god. Oh. Man, you know what? You know, I was saying, you know, maybe someone will build something to compensate for the overheating. I'm going to backtrack. I think I had to backtrack that. I think I'm going to have to backtrack. I hope there's something they can do. It's weird because I don't know if it's a software thing where like even if the internal temperature drops, the camera's like, hey, you just recorded 25 minutes of this setting. You're still gonna have to wait X number of minutes, even though the temperature on the camera body has dropped back down. So wow. And then as far as the EOS R5, so you might be saying EOS R5. So let's see over here. Tony and Chelsea Northrup, they went ahead and did some tests. Now, whatever your opinion of them and everything like that, they do some good stuff with the testing. And they really put the R5 in through its paces. And yeah, it overheated on them. It overheated on them. And the R5, it's not really usable. And even for them, they're saying even at 4K 60p, it's a challenge for the camera as well. So they're still dealing with overheating issues, even just doing the 4K 60p option with the camera, let alone the 8K option. I'm still on board with Canon doing the 8K and 4K and all that good stuff, even if there's overheating issues. That's my personal opinion. But Johnny was saying from Cinema 5D, he was exactly right. You know, the professional use aspect of that camera, you can't use it in a real professional environment for video, like for sure. You know, I dealt with that situation a little bit with the A9 with the overheating, and I made a big stink about it a long time ago because, you know, you spent so much money on the camera and you expected it to work and overheat. But granted, there wasn't as much information about overheating at the time. All right, the other thing too is that now Sony not overheating is the biggest thing now. That's it. I was trying to figure out the headline for Sony. I was asking myself, okay, well, what's the headline for Sony? So the headline will be Sony 4K 120 FPS, no overheating. I think that's it. I think that's it. And I'm assuming that once everyone gets their hands on their Canon EOS R5 or R6 and they start trying to use the cameras, they're going to start finding out that trying to record for prolonged periods of time, the camera's going to overheat and shut down. Sony, hopefully you got it in the bag. I'm excited. Seeing what it looks like at this point, it looks really nice. The camera set up to flip out the fully articulating screen. It's been a long time coming for Sony. Now, I really hope they take what they're doing with the A7 IV and put that into the A7S III and put that into the A7 IV. I really hope they take that tech and that technology, whatever they've done, put it in the A7 IV. That's going to be an amazing camera. Folks, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks again for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other content. And again, it's getting hot out there. It's getting exciting. I'll see you later. Peace.